Why is the United States involved in this? It has nothing to do with Ukraine's independence or sovereignty helping the United States.
Do we own them? Is that part of it? Client state over there?
Even if you did, like, what do you own? You own a poverty-stricken country that's on the verge of a failing democracy. That was before it was invaded. You want to know what you get out of this conflict? The United States gets to practice logistical shipments of large-scale weapons and movements across the world in time for a real battle. You want to know what the United States gets out of it? They get to burn through old surplus weaponry and test experimental weaponry on an active battlefield. Why is that beneficial to the United States? Because our real threat is 7,000 miles away.
Yep.
And if we don't get a chance to practice a protracted war halfway across the globe, then we're going to get caught with our pants down when China invades Taiwan. Because guess how far away China is from Taiwan? Only 80 miles further than Russia was from Ukraine.
Well, according to one China Danny here, Taiwan's a part of China.
Oh. That's not one China Danny. That's one China Biden, too.
And yeah, Sleepy Joe's got a big meeting on Tuesday. This will all go away. Don't worry. Don't fret. He's got it under control.
Isn't China already shooting fucking missiles towards Taiwan?
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're showing what their capability is.
What happened a few weeks ago, with maybe a month ago now? I think it's been a while, but there was the Communist Party meeting in China, and you had, I forget the fucking guy's name. Yeah, that
Xi
dude.
Jinping, yeah.
He was like this old dude sitting next to Xi Jinping, and then like security came in and like started yanking his ass out of the chair, and Xi's just sitting. That was like the ultimate, like, yeah, sorry fam, like, don't know what's going on. Like, what happened there?
Historians and political scientists around the world cringe when Julian talks about world international things. This fucking old guy sitting there. And
this guy gets ripped up. It's on TikTok. And he turned around.
Somewhere
he puts a new school spin on it.
He does.
I've never heard anybody who knows more about the CIA and the FBI and the U.S. government than Julian. I swear to God.
There's a Harvard professor somewhere sitting there like, I made a career out of studying political science so that this guy could call Hu Jintao some old guy.
Imagine David Satter sitting across from me, 50 years, like Financial Times, like Moscow correspondent. I'm saying shit like this. He's like, oh. Yeah, gotcha. But anyway, yeah. What happened there?
Jim, I'm doing a bunch of talk, so if you want to
I'm jumping in, man. I'm listening.
Okay,
I'm learning.
I don't want to stop.
I'm listening and learning. You know me. It's just all about breaking
we have to all
collarbones.
figure this out. We've never done
There's never been. Has there ever been a podcast with FBI and CIA at the same table?
Right before 9/11. I'm only kidding. It didn't happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. This is good. We're actually setting the mark here.
We're bringing
high water mark right here, boys.
That's gonna get clipped.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
God. That's going to be in documentaries 10 years from now.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Lord.
But no, in all honesty, I do think this is a pretty cool pair.
It's really cool.
This is something that probably, honestly, it could probably never happen if we were active CIA, active DOD, or active FBI, because there would be so much bureaucracy to get through. Somebody would say no, it would be too high risk. The editing would be outrageous. The ownership rights would be outrageous.
I mean, publicly, you guys aren't active, but privately.
Yeah, according to the comments, you guys are both still active.
Did you get a description of the old guy that get ripped out of the chair? That might have been me. No, I'm gonna kid.
No, he was Asian.
Yeah. Who was the guy that got ripped out of the chair?
So his name was Hu Jintao. So
can we find that?
Yeah, what you saw.
You speak Chinese too, so you were definitely listening.
My Chinese is rusty. If you can imagine, like cobwebs in an attic kind of thing. That's what my Chinese.
You haven't been keeping up.
How long did it take you to learn Chinese?
Technically, it took me 4 years.
Isn't it called Mandarin?
To speak at a 5th grade level.
Okay.
So yeah, the military taught me for a long time, and it never got very good.
Where were you, Monterey?
No, I was actually at the Air Force Academy. Yeah.
All right.
Monterey's the best language. I asked for Monterey, but that's out of budget.
Yeah.
No, so what you saw it's called the Party Congress. You saw I think it was the 20th Party Congress. It's the Party Congress that happens, or maybe in the 50th. But it happens every 2 years, every 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, do we have the video? We should pull up the video, too.
There's so much video, it's going to be hard to find a good one.
The Jerusalem Post.
Yeah, very reliable source right there.
Is it?
No. Not even close. It might as well just be called Israel's Always Right, the World is Always Wrong Post.
Wow.
Yes. But
this is how it happened. The rest of you are stupid.
Yeah.
See you at the club.
See you at the club. But yeah, what you're seeing happen between China right now and the West, right? Let's just collectively call it the West, is Xi Jinping is correctly realizing that this is a time to demonstrate unity and power in the East because the West is struggling under democracy, right? You've got NATO arguing with each other's members. You've got Hungary, a NATO partner altogether, actively trying to propose that Russia should be left alone, right? Like you've got internal conflict in NATO. You have the disaster of what our midterm elections just turned into, right? Basically
How so?
Another
Gridlock?
a gridlock, continued gridlock with transfer of power looking like it's most likely going to go to the Republicans in Congress, which means the purse strings of the government are going to get tied down. So, blue Senate, blue executive, a red Congress, that just means money's getting tight.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that we're going to start getting along. If anything, it means
we're as divided as we've ever been.
Yeah.
And these elections are showing that. It's right down the middle. So it doesn't matter.
So what Xi Jinping wants to do is he knows that the win for China and the win for Chinese influence around the world is to show that China can get stuff done, where the West can't even figure out their own backyard.
But why is he taking a senior citizen out of like the nursing home?
Because
Play
Hu
the video?
Jintao is the only other person that carries anywhere near as much influence as Xi Jinping.
He doesn't look like he knows what he ate for lunch today.
Yeah. No. Don't mistake the way that an old man looks.
Yeah,
he sat in Xi's seat before Xi sat there.
Look at this.
Look at Xi's face. That is the ultimate. Like, throw some sunglasses on him with a cigarette and say, "Not in here, bitch." He's like, "Oh yeah."
So this is also important because if you watch,
is he trying to resist?
So if you get he's not resisting. He's just an old guy. He's asking questions. You see him keep reaching for that sheet of paper.
Yep.
He's trying to ask. Listen up, Julian. He's trying to ask questions about why changes were made to the panel without his approval. And now, as he's being marched out, watch how nobody looks at him. Nobody looks at him because they realize this is a move that Xi is making. So they're not looking. No eye contact. Yep. These are all people that have worked under Hu Jintao.
Wow.
And they're all essentially demonstrating their deferral to Xi Jinping. This is a clear message to the world that Xi Jinping is the consolidated source of power in China and that they are unified behind Xi Jinping.
So what happened to him?
Yeah, we don't know.
What is
probably nothing. I mean, the dude is a legend in China. He's probably living in some nice pagoda up in the mountains, just
that's nice.
Being left alone.
All right, he got a nice retirement package.
They gave him Pebble Beach.
He's too big, too big to just be disappeared. Too important to be disappeared.
But could you imagine that ever happening here?
No.
Imagine somebody walking Sleepy Joe out. He'd go the wrong way. But,
oh my gosh. So that guy's equivalent to like what? He's equivalent to like
Xi Jinping before Xi.
Yeah, he was when Bush was around and Obama's first came.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the guy that essentially modernized China, brought China into the fold of world superpowers.
Why do you talk about and I think some of it's obvious to people listening, but I just want to hear you express it. Like when you're always going right to China as the main adversary here, and to quote you on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, you said you were stationed in Asia. You're not allowed to say where, but what languages do you speak again?
Thai, Chinese, and Japanese.
Okay, so you said you do the math, right? So obviously this is a topic you know something about. Like what makes them the ultimate threat and like what's your worst case scenario with our relations with China over the next 10 years?
Pardon this brief interruption, but I want to take a minute to talk about this incredible supplement that I've been using for over a year now after it was recommended to me by nutritional scientist Dr. Dominic D'Agostino on this podcast. I take Dom's advice when it comes to anything related to nutrition, diet, and longevity because as we get older, these things become more and more important. That is why I started using Verso. Verso is a company that is dedicated to translating scientific breakthroughs into products that hold the potential to increase longevity. I take Cell Being, this one right here, which contains nicotinamide mononucleotide or NMN-based supplement, paired with naturally derived micronized trans resveratrol and TMG. These two chemicals are actually precursors to what's called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is commonly known as NAD. And NAD is essentially the precursor to energy, cell repair, and longevity. If you've ever tried fasting or even intermittent fasting and you've gotten that feeling of super high energy or mental clarity, it's because your body is activating these genes called sirtuins, which are actually longevity genes. The downside is as we age, NAD declines. When I found out I could naturally increase my body's activation of sirtuins and naturally activate my body's production of NAD, I was sold. And it is so much more affordable than doing NAD IV drips. Head on over to ver.me KONCRETE.so and use the coupon code CONCRETE at checkout to save 15% on your entire order. That's KONCRETE at checkout and get 15% off your entire order, or you can just go to ver.so/KONCRETE. It's linked below. Back to the show.
I look here's what when I think about, and this has been going on forever, as long as I've been serving, it's been the same deal. And the fact of the matter is the Bureau has really not geared up on the side of foreign counterintelligence on that side of the house. They've worried about other things that are here in our backyard in their mind, what they can see, the drugs, the murder, the organized crime. In the meantime, they're just destroying every part of what we do and how we do it. And what I always look at is look at the focus on the face of 18 and 19-year-old Chinese Communist Party soldiers. Look at that. Look at the ferocity that comes with that. Look at our kids. Look at our generation.
Our military recruitment crisis right now.
Exactly. We actually lowered our standard by 10,000 and missed the quota by 15,000.
We're not even getting new soldiers into our military.
We can't do it. We can't find. And what they say is, well, we don't really want the kid with, some type of indictment or some type of misdemeanor because you just don't know. Listen, we have no choice. Like I said, lowered it by 10,000, missed it by 15. This has never happened, ever in the history of the military. So what do we do now? So then you got people talking about, well, we should have, a 2-week service after high school. And then you go, all right, come on, are you fucking crazy? Parents that'll be the most corrupt program in the history of the United States as parents are buying their kids way out of it. So it starts there. It starts with the commitment to country and cause. And so whatever's done there, and obviously we can only imagine what's done in order to keep that in place. And it's a high drive. The culture is a high drive culture. Want to succeed, want to do more, want to come to the States, study at our Ivy League universities, do the things that they do. And it just carries over into, I would love to know what that guy was trying to put forward. What was he asking?
Yeah.
We'll never find that out.
It's true.
Right.
The reason that you see me jump right to China is because of 3 main things, right? First, we spent 20 years, just like Jim was saying, we spent 20 years fighting a global war on terrorism. Guess who wasn't involved in the global war on terrorism? China. So that means all of our money, all of our effort, all of our attention was fighting a transnational threat that China wasn't spending any time or any money on.
And they were building.
And they were perfecting how they could penetrate the West because the West was distracted.
And how are they doing that?
Now let's move on to point number 2.
And watching our mistakes by them, watching what we did wrong.
Whenever you go down into a mine, right? Back in the day, miners used to take, what was it, a parrot? A parakeet?
Canary.
A canary.
Yep.
They used to take a canary down into a mine, right? And the reason, and it was because the canary, when the canary bit the dust, that's how they would know that there wasn't enough oxygen to keep the miners alive so they could get out. Our canary is Australia. Australia knows that. They've been our canary for a long time. So guess what happened about 4 years ago? Australia realized that Chinese were sending Chinese students, Chinese professors, Chinese mining experts into Australia specifically to undermine Australian politics, Australian student mindset and ideology.
Mission accomplished.
And guess who Australia's most important export-import partner is? China. And they were so upset. The Australians, God love them because they're just a fearless bunch of savages sometimes. They were like, we caught you, China. We're going to let the whole world know we caught you, and we're going to penalize you. Even though they know that penalizing China means penalizing themselves, right? So Australia's been in this battle with the Chinese for like the last 5 years.
But why were they the most totalitarian in the lens of what China was trying to do with when the pandemic just kept going on and on?
You're distracted. That's an offshoot that's not relevant to your first question.
Okay.
Right? So we have our canary. So my 3 points, right? First, they didn't participate in the global war on terror. So they were mastering their future plan because they had a 50-year plan, right? Then we have our canary go off in Australia. And now the 3rd point, they're poised to become the world's economic superpower by 2032. Economics is what drives everything in human existence. Right? The more money you make, the more money you can spend developing weapons, the more military you can build, the more everybody else wants to be your friend because you have the most money. What made the United States the superpower that we are? Economics. Our economics are starting to fall behind Chinese economics. China knows that. So they're very focused on becoming the world's economic superpower And once they're the economic superpower, then it's very, very hard for us to catch up after that, which is why you see the race kicking up now. Trump kind of called attention to it, but the world hated Trump, so the world was kind of not open to his point of view.
Exactly.
But one of the only policies that carried on from the Trump administration into the Biden administration were the China policies.
Yes, I'm seeing that a lot.